Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of the Catch Your Breath podcast. If you've been around for a while, welcome back. I'm glad that you're still listening. And if this is your first time here, I am so happy that you have found us. I'm Inga, and this is the podcast for homeschool moms who don't actually want a lot more of you should do this and instructions for your days, but this is for the mom who needs a moment to pause, a moment to breathe, a moment to feel seen in the middle of everything that you're carrying. And so if that sounds like you are in the right place. Today, this episode is a reply to a question that I got from one of my dear listeners who was thinking about herself and saying, what about me? What's going on with me? Who am I? What's my thing? How do I find my thing? And a lot of us have experienced that in the past or are currently experiencing it. So we're going to talk about that today. But before we do, if you've been here for a little bit, you know what's next. We have to check in. How are you? How have you been doing? And as you think about this, I don't want the version of you that answers with a list of the things like, well, I didn't get to do these things and that. I mean, like you. How are you doing today? And most importantly, have you had a moment to catch your breath? Have you paused enough to be intentional about your breathing? If you've not, then this is the time for that. So let's take a moment. Let's pause. And we're going to breathe in for 4. We're going to hold for 4. And then we're going to exhale for 6. And so if you can take a moment to just stop and pause and do that, I'm going to ask you to do that. It really does help. There's so many amazing things. I've been thinking about doing an episode on telling you why we're doing all of this breathing so you understand. But it really is good for your body physically, your emotional side, and your mental. So many amazing benefits. So let's do it. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One more time. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I hope that you've given yourself permission to participate in that, to fully be intentional about pausing, be intentional about catching your breath, about refreshing, giving yourself some oxygen in this moment. And as we're talking about that today, what you need, I want to ask you a question that I wonder if we ask ourselves. I know I've asked myself a lot, and I just wonder if you ask yourself this: who am I? Who am I? You might feel like that's a weird question to ask or a hard question to answer because you might not feel like yourself. You might feel like you've actually lost yourself in the midst of this homeschooling and all of what it entails. You're like the woman who used to be is gone, or at least she's buried under everything that needs you, everyone that needs you, everything that needs you. And I want you to know that that makes sense. If you feel like that, it is very much normal. It's common, it's normal, and it's actually okay because we have different seasons where we go through all of these different things. And because so much of your life right now is about what your child needs, what your spouse needs, what still needs to get done, what you didn't get done, and what you think should be getting done, what you think you should be doing better. What happens is one day you just realize you don't even like who you are right now. You either don't like who you are or you don't even know who you are. And you're like, remember that girl? I know sometimes I talk with my friends and I'm like, remember when we used to? Oh, yeah. And we say, who was that girl? And it feels really true sometimes. Like, who was she? And when someone asks you, okay, so what do you enjoy doing? You honestly don't know. I remember a few years back, we had to do a journal assignment in a coaching session. And she asked us to share in our small groups what we enjoyed doing. And I remember bursting into tears when the camera was off because I could not think about it for the life of me. I really was like, what do I enjoy doing? And I knew that I enjoyed reading, but the truth is I had not read what I loved reading in so long that I was like, wait, what what can I say? I don't really know. And I think that that's normal because when we think about what we enjoy doing or what we want to do in the midst of this very busy life that we have, sometimes we don't even have the room to think past the survival of right now. So we say things like, I just want a moment to myself, or I just want to sit down. I just want to clean the house. I want somebody to cook dinner for me. I just want to rest. And those things do matter. So I would love those things. And a lot of times it's because those things will give us space to then think about the things that we enjoy. But the truth is that those things are not the essence of who we are. And when we want enough space to finally hear ourselves again, we have to maybe ask ourselves, not just who am I, but what do I want? And this has to go beyond a maid or any of those things. We have to think about if all of those things happen, if I got everything on my to-do list done that had to be done, and there was space in my life for these things, what would I fill it with that I enjoy? And I know in this season, we're pouring into everyone else so much that we can't think about, well, what do I love? What brings me joy? What do I look forward to? And what feels like mine? So the truth is we just keep going and we take the kids to all the sports and we take them to the lessons and we take them to the practices and we make sure that they have these things that fill their lives. And then we tell ourselves, you know what? When they're older, when they're out of the house, then I'll have my thing. And the truth is you will have more time then. But do you even know what that thing is going to be? And because you're longing for some kind of relief in the midst of right now, because we still need it right now, I don't know about you, but I find myself grabbing my phone and then scrolling. And it's interesting because I never really thought of myself as a social media person in the true sense of social media. But I find myself finding those things that will make me laugh and give me some joy. Like I love to watch the little movies of the funny things that babies do, or if the little puppies are doing things together, or actually my favorite is just watching when they show a father's reflex and stuff like that. But the reality is I'm looking for that thing. But sometimes as I continue to scroll, instead of feeling better, I walk away feeling worse. Because what will sneak in there is me watching other people living their lives and doing those things that bring them joy and wondering, wait a minute, when does mine start? When do I do these things? And feeling resentment towards whom? Because it's me that needs to make the space, but I don't. And let me say this, there's no guilt. And if you feel like you need to just break away for a little bit and scroll, and I know I love to watch movies. That is something that I truly do love. And so sometimes if I want to laugh, I find a comedy. If I want to cry, I find a drama. It just depends. So there's no shame, there's no guilt there if you pick up the phone and look at it, because we all do. But I think that one of the hardest and most honest parts of being where we are in the middle of being homeschool moms is that you can love homeschooling, you can love your children, you could love your husband, you could love your life, and you could still wonder, is this it? Who am I? And both things are true, but it's not something that we're willing to say out loud because our culture has really just gone so far into me first, and it's all about me and me time and self-care and all this self that we're just like, all right, I'm just going to sacrifice self. I'm going to put me on the other side because I really want to make sure that I'm living a life that's pleasing to God, that I'm serving my family in the way that I need to. And so we just end up swinging the other way as far as away as possible and just not focus on ourselves at all. But I really want us to think about this. And this is the question I feel like I have to ask myself and remind myself. How do I show up well for my family if I never show up well for myself? And how do I love others so deeply if I forget how to care for the woman that God created? because I know that God doesn't love me for what I do. He delights in who I am. He delights in who you are. And honoring that person, that woman, isn't selfish. It's necessary. It acknowledges what the Bible says, that you are beautifully and wonderfully made. And it's not about waiting until your kids are grown. It's not even about balance. It's really about wholeness. We know that our spiritual life matters. We know that our mental life matters. We know that our emotional life matters. But there has to be space for you in the middle of all of this. So maybe you don't know what your love is right now. And really, that's okay. That's okay. But make space to try something. Talk to your friends, go out with them and see what are they doing? Whether it's reading, whether it's painting, whether it's coloring. I just found out one of my friends loves to color and she does some beautiful coloring things. And so we were talking about that and I was like, well, I already know that coloring's not my thing. So I don't need to try that. But it could be moving your body, doing some exercise, running. It could be creating, painting. It could just even be in finding ways to do something that gives you some sort of rest. Like for me, when the weather's really nice, just going to walk in the park, and not necessarily for fitness, but just to walk in the park and sit on a bench and rest. That actually fills me up. To sit in the beauty of God's creation, that's a thing for me. So when we start to intentionally search for it, we can find it. Seek and you shall find. And remember, this doesn't have to consume your life. It doesn't have to take over, but it does need a place. It needs an intentional, focused place. Because when part of you is ignored for too long, the truth is it doesn't just disappear. Often it turns into resentment. And depending on where that resentment goes, it can go within your family, your children, your homeschool, whatever it is, it goes somewhere. And we don't want that. We want to be able to show up with joy because you, as a mom, as a homeschool mom, are filling your child up regularly. You are working with them to ensure that they have everything that they need in their homeschool, outside of their homeschool, that they're completely whole. All of those things. If we thought about the wholeness of our child, there isn't one area where we're just like, we are not going to focus on that at all. Just forget that. We're going to put that to the side. That's not important. If we look at the wholeness wheel of your child, all of those different things we're thinking about. Every single one of them. We want them to be emotionally well, physically well, mentally well, academically well, environmentally well, all of those things. And so we have to think of ourselves as well-rounded. And the other thing that kind of just punched me in the gut as I was thinking about this for my friend, but even, when somebody asks me something, a lot of times I'm like, oh, I know that too. I've experienced that too, is I have my children watching me. And I don't want to be a hypocrite. I don't want to tell them you need to take care of all these different things and you need to make sure that you're whole and there's wellness. But then I'm not modeling that because I'm not taking care of myself. And sometimes I don't even realize that until my children will say to me, the other day they said that, Mommy, just sit down. I was like, no, I have this, that, and the third to do. And they're like, okay, but can you sit down for a little bit? And I was like, I think I'm making them anxious because I'm doing too much. I was in pain in that moment, but I was like, I'm not showing them that each of these pieces of me is worth focusing on. So right now I need to focus on the fact that I'm in pain. Or when the snow was happening and I was thinking, okay, well, in my mind, I'm like, yes, I want to have this fun with them, but I'm going to do this fun. I'm going to do that thing and, making time for that. But, for me, at least, I always say, do what you want to do no, that's not what I say. I say, do what you have to do before you do what you want to do and make sure that those things happen. But what happens sometimes is that thing that I need to do takes a lot longer. And then I just end up pushing out the thing that I want to do like that. That's not important. And so when the snow was there and they're like, can you come out and play? Come and do that. My son, he's just bold like that. And he's like, Mommy, come on. You got to make time for fun. And I'm like, that is so true. That is so true. I have to stop myself sometimes and say, when is the last time that you have had fun? Fun that did not include holding your phone and laughing, which is good. Like I said, no guilt whatsoever, but just finding that time. And while I'm saying that and saying play with out in the snow with them, it may sound like, okay, but that was for them. It really was for me because I love that kind of stuff. I wanted to go out and sled too. But just that, like, what makes you smile? What makes you laugh? And it doesn't mean that it has to be apart from your children. But if it's a thing that they don't love to do and you need that time for yourself, absolutely. We have to do that. So how do we find who we are again, what we love, what we enjoy? Well, the truth is, as I said, it's not about figuring it all out. And it can feel stressful to go back and try to figure out. I say go back 'cause I'm thinking of my age, but go back and be like, what did I love? What did I like to do before kids? And even that, like thinking about what you like to do before kids might not even be the way to go because we change and we grow. And what you like to do, you may not love to do anymore. But what would you like to do? And if you had 30 minutes that belonged only to you, what would you want to do? Not clean, not fix, not prepare. What would you love to do? And your thing is your thing. I know I have a friend who loves to cook. And so maybe cooking a meal for your family where it has to be like, oh, this nutrition thing might not be the thing that's enjoyable, but trying a new recipe that you wanted to might be. Whatever it is, just thinking about it and then being intentional about doing it. And if you don't know, you just have no clue. And I've been there trying something. I remember I'm so corny that I went and found a list of hobbies on, after that time that I broke down crying, I went and found a list of hobbies. And I think it had, I want to say 50. Let's say it had 50. And I just went through and looked at the things that I was like, oh, I'd like to try that. Oh, and I really didn't end up doing anything on that list right then. But one of the things that happened is because I was intentionally seeking, I realized I love handwriting. I absolutely love it. And I could watch shorts or reels or whatever of people just doing that over and over again. I was like, that's what I want to do that. I really enjoy that. I did do it for a little bit. It's not great with the things that go on with my hand, but I realized, okay, that was the thing. What are some other things? And then some things I've tried didn't work out. Like I went and done the paint classes. That's not my thing. Okay. I don't need to do that. But what is it? Is it something that you maybe wanted to do? Like what I'm trying to do now is learn another language. I've tried and stopped and tried and stopped, but that's intriguing to me. And it just feels like, okay, it doesn't have to be this anxious thing where like, oh my gosh, if I don't do it every single day, then something happens. But just that I can be curious about it, that I can travel maybe, whatever it is, travel would be amazing, right? But whatever it is that you're intentional about, thinking about it, setting aside time for it and trying. And even though that's 3 things, that's your one thing for today. It's your one thing today to be intentional about seeking it out and making some time for it and then trying it. And if you try it and it doesn't work and you don't love it, it's okay. You don't need to keep doing it. Let's decide that we're going to do that together. That we're going to find our thing, that we're going to make sure that we know we are more than homeschool moms, we're even more than wives, more than moms, more than sisters, all of those things, that whoever God made us to be, that He put some desires and some things that light us up inside of us. And we're going to find those, right? Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this encouraged you. I hope this answered your question, Kelly. And I hope this helped you. Let me know. And if you have a question that you want me to answer, hey, send me an email. Let's talk about it. hello@ingamasick.com. I want to encourage you. I want to think about it together. And most importantly, I want you to know that you're not alone. So when you have that thought, I want you to know it's probably something else that somebody else wants to know. And that's what I want to be able to encourage you in. Please, if this was helpful, remember to share it with someone else. And I would love for you, if you listen on Apple, to go and give me a 5-star rating if this really has encouraged you, because that's the way that we get this out there. And I know that there are a lot of homeschool podcasts out there, but I want us to really get into the space where we're not just talking about curriculum and lesson plans and schedules, but we're really talking about what's going on with us, giving us an opportunity to catch our breath, to breathe again, to feel refreshed. Thank you so much for listening. I cannot wait to talk to you again. And until next time, remember to take a moment to catch your breath.